Kumite Radio is brought to you by Supplement Warfare. Visit their website, supplementwarfare.com.au, for the best quality supplements on the planet. Use coupon code Kumite Radio at checkout to get 10% off of all orders. Joining me right now is UFC veteran Damien "Beatdown" Brown. What's going on, Damien? Welcome to Kumite Radio.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me again.
No doubt, Damien. Everybody knows you recently announced on social media that you and the UFC parted ways. When you first heard the news, what was your initial reaction to it?
I was devastated, man. I've been fighting professionally for 9 years, and 8 years. I've been training for like a decade in MMA, and pretty much like as long as I can remember, maybe the first few fights was just was a bit of fun or whatever, and then by the time I got to 6-0, my only goal was to fight in the UFC. So every time I had a losing streak, and people like family were like, "Oh, are you done now?" Like, I was never done. I was never done until I reached the UFC. Like, I would have kept going until A, I was too old for the sport and I just didn't have it anymore, or B, like financially I couldn't sustain the lifestyle that I was living. I've got a house and all that sort of stuff. So like, as long as I could afford to do it, I would have kept doing it until I got to the UFC. So my entire focus has been on that. And then when I got there, I was living my dream. So for that to be taken away, I was devastated, but at the same time, I was probably more upset, not that the UFC parted ways, but just off the back of the last two fights. I know I've lost 3 in a row, but the last 2 split decisions. I thought Sydney was a draw, and I feel like I was robbed in Perth. So I kind of felt like it was a little bit unjust. Only 2 fights ago, I got top 5 fight of the year for 2017, and we got fight of the night, and my opponent was 5 pounds overweight. So I thought, I definitely thought I had one more chance, but it's it's business, man. That's the way they roll. So everyone knows that. I thought at the time that I was lucky to get a 3rd fight, so I guess I was just hoping for another one.
You shot onto the international scene, of course, in the UFC. Your fighting style, you go forward, you throw hard, you take shots. That's what you're known for. Now, moving forward, do you look back at that and say, hey, maybe I should change my style a little bit, or are you just going to do what you do? Is that your way?
No, I don't think I need to change my style. I mean, my style is the reason why I won 5 fights in a row in 2015 and got into the UFC. It's the same reason my first 6 fights I was 6-0. Like, I think it's an aggressive style, and as a fighter, as a martial artist, I've developed my skill level over time. And I feel like I can match skill with aggression these days, as opposed to just being aggressive and going forward. So I don't think I need to change my fight style. Like I said, I felt like I was robbed in the last fight, and I tried to do things different there. It felt like we won the fight, and it was a calculated and technical performance. It wasn't a brawl at all. I didn't brawl. I didn't get injured. So I felt like I did something different there. It was still reasonably exciting. I just need to maintain my style and maybe lift my work rate a little more.
What are your thoughts on moving forward now? What is the future hold for you?
So I guess like most guys would probably go away and try and win 3 or 4 fights and get back to the UFC. And for me, my experience in the UFC was amazing, and the people there, like Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, Joe Silver, Dana White, all those kind of people, they treated me awesome. I enjoyed it, man, but I'm 33 years old and turn 34 at the end of the year. And for me now, it's about, doing things that I never got to do. Like, so for so long, my entire focus was on getting to the UFC. There's a lot of guys that fight in Japan and fight in Russia and do these like cool things and let fighting take them across the world. For me, it was like one goal, and that was to fight in the UFC. And so did that. So now there's, I have 5 fights. I might fight for another 5 years. I'm not sure. I don't have a specific goal now, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to go off and fight in Ryzen or maybe Bellator. I want the biggest fights that other promotions can give me. I don't care about titles. I just want big fights. And I want to travel. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Russia. I'd like to go to Europe again. So, if there's promotions out there that want to take me there, pay me, obviously I want to still make money off it, So I'm not going to fight for free anymore. And I'm practically free. I used to fight for $1,000 in Australia and stuff like that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm older. I get injuries. So for me right now, the focus will be to sign with some bigger international promotions and travel the world and put on awesome shows, as I always have, but just in different parts of the world. And if I win 3, 4, 5 in a row and the UFC take me back, so be it. If not, I'll hang them up.
Yeah, you definitely built your name with the fights that you have taken and the way you fight. So I'm pretty sure a lot of these promotions are looking at you right now and thinking of matchups, because you do fight in the glamour division. I think the lightweight division is a glamour division because every promotion, if you look at Ryzen, you look at One Championship, ACB, all those lightweight divisions are stacked with talent, and you could fight any of those guys immediately. So do you have any guy you want to fight, in one of those promotions?
There's no one. I wanted to fight some people in the UFC that I've looked up to for a long time. It had nothing to do with rankings, like I would have just loved to have shared the cage with them. For me, I don't have any particular names, but if if Verizon's got someone that wants to stand and trade and they want someone to come over and put it on a show, then let's do it. I'm not I'm only focused on having fun, traveling the world, and putting on awesome fights. So, I don't really care who it is. Just anyone at 155, I guess. So,
Has anybody reached out to you yet?
no. So I got a manager in the States. Hopefully people. I'm not too sure whether people are reaching out to him because I don't know if they even know that he manages me. But hopefully, if people want to reach out to me, they can reach out to George Prajan. Yeah, hopefully, some people reach out to him. But I've asked him to talk to Ryzen and Bellator, so I'll just wait and see what happens. I mean, I'm still recovering from knee surgery and my foot surgery. So another thing I'm grateful for, the UFC paid for my knee surgery, and they're still covering all the recovery and stuff like that. So the release was nothing more than a business decision. So I'm blessed and super appreciative of that. So yeah, no one's reached out to me, but if they want me, I'm here. They know where to find me.
Let's talk about your recovery. You had surgery on your knee, and you mentioned your foot. What is the timeline? When can you be back in the cage?
Well, there's no real specific timeline on it. I've got about 5 more weeks, I think, until I can train 100%. And then, look, I'm back training now, but it's very limited. Still got some pain in my knee joint when it's loaded and stuff. I still get a bit of pain when I walk. So we'll just wait and see how that goes. But I should be able to train with most stuff in the next 5 weeks, and then I should be able to compete in the next 8 to 10 weeks or something like that, like as in start of camp. So I'm kind of hoping that like late September, October, November, something like that. Definitely by November I'll be 100%. Like there's no chance that by November, unless we're gonna have surgery again or something like that because something's gone wrong. There's no chance that I won't be ready by then. But I think like late September, October, I'll be ready for a fight.
Well, that's perfect timing for Ryzen's New Year's Eve in December. So we'll see what happens with that, right? It'll be exciting to be able to go over there and face somebody and go to battle.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, imagine, for me, little old Aussie, take my family to New Year's in Japan and fly at the same time. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm after.
Now, there's a few hot topics going on in the UFC, mainly in the UFC, and I wanted to get your opinions on these topics, especially USADA. You were in the USADA pool, and nowadays people are coming out and exposing the loopholes in the
They're
testing
everywhere.
everywhere,
They're
right? So
everywhere.
now I wanted to get
Yeah.
your thoughts on this, and what kind of loopholes are there, and like, what is your thoughts now that you're out of the testing?
I love the fact that it was drug testing. I mean, I'm a clean athlete. I've got nothing to worry about. In saying that, I don't really care if I fight someone who's juiced to the gills, man. It doesn't worry me. Like, if you want to use steroids, go right ahead. I mean, it's the way I see it is, MMA in general used to be open weight. You know what I mean? So you could take as much steroids as you want because at the end of the day, technical ability always beat a size advantage. So I think it's awesome that they're trying to clean the sport up, but at the same time, the program itself was an absolute pain in the backside. So we used to have to put our quarterly whereabouts in, and if you just I'm a shift worker, so I work shifts around training, and then when I go to fight, I take 2 months off and I go ready for my fight. So if you just trained all year round, you trained at the same time each day. So you trained, you did your strength conditioning or whatever at 10 a.m. and you did your MMA at 3 p.m. You could just put that in there and you're sweet. And the rest of the time, they just expect that you're at home. But I've got to go for an entire 3 months. I've got to put every single shift that I work in individually, which doesn't sound like a lot when it's only 4 times a year, but it's a real pain when you got to spend 2 hours individually putting in every single day of what you do. So from that point of view, it was a bit of an admin nightmare for an athlete to have to do that. It's good that they're cleaning the sport, and then as far as the loopholes go, yeah, there's heaps of them, man. I mean, GSP talked about it about if you're taking like some product that mainly stay in your system for like 2 or 3 days, but you have the effects of it last for say a month, right? You can put in that you're in transit. They can't come and test you if you're in transit. You know what I mean? So for me, as an Aussie, like I could say I'm flying to Singapore, right? And then the next day I'm flying back. 12-hour flight. So they can't test me for 2 days then. Well, maybe I'll spend a day in Singapore, but I don't know where my address is. So you just put in that you're going to Singapore. And I think there's an option where you didn't have unknown times or whatever, or unknown location, and then you fly back, say, 3 days later. So now you've got a transit day, a day in Singapore where you don't have a confirmed location, and then you've got a day of travel back. So now you've got 3 days for it to be out of your system. And when you get tested on the fourth day, if by chance they turn up on the fourth day, which is no guarantee because it's random, then it's out of your system, you get tested, but the effects are there for your fight. So there's that one. There's also like they turned up at your door, they knock, and say your wife answers, and then she's like, yeah, no, he's not here. He's doing whatever, or he got called into work. Like I'm on call all the time, so he got called into work. They go, okay, no worries. How long is he gonna be? Working a 12-hour shift. He got called into work. Okay, no worries. They go away, write the report, nature of the job, and you don't get a whereabouts failure, right? That you may or may not. It's not guaranteed, right? But nature of the job is you couldn't predict that was going to happen because you got called in for an emergency or something. So then they just go away, write the report, and submit it to your USADA, and you don't get a whereabouts failure because it was unavoidable. Say it was like an avoidable situation, so they turn up and she just goes, I haven't seen him, he's not home. Do you know when he'll be back? No, I got no idea. Like he could be gone for hours, he could be gone for a whole day. Okay, no worries. They go away, they fill out their report, it goes on your file as a whereabouts failure. You get 2 of those. On the third one, you get a 12-month suspension. So you could not be there twice, randomly in a row. Now, for someone like me, I got tested six. I think I got tested like 6 or 7 times in just over 2 years. So you imagine, like, like say the first time they turned up, I wasn't there, and then the second time they turned up, I wasn't there. That's a whole like 6 month period. I mean, that's 6 months where I could use whatever I wanted as long as it was out of my system before they randomly turned up again. It's so there's definitely ways for people to cheat if they wanted to cheat. Um, so yeah, it's definitely not hole proof, but it's better than what they used to have, right? So,
Yeah, it's an interesting situation that they have, and I think as time goes, people start to figure out what's going on, and then start to find their ways of getting around things. You know, for the people that want to get away with something, right? So, I'm pretty sure. Like, I like
people
to think
cheat,
that
man.
most fighters are not using. I like to think that,
Well,
but
we all like to think it, but people just think it's part of the sport. It's cheating, man. You know what I mean? Who was the only person that ever got an advantage through weight cutting was the first person to ever do it, because then everyone did it. It's not an advantage anymore. Now it's a competition to see who can cut the most amount of weight to get the biggest advantage. But like the only person that ever had an advantage cheated by cutting water instead of staying on the scales that they walk around way back when. It could have been 100 years ago, could have been 150 years ago. So it is, or it is. Someone will always find a way to get an advantage. And then when you bring in rules or relations to combat that, then they'll find a way around it. So you guarantee there's people still using IVs. You know what I mean? There's no way they're not.
definitely. Now, I want to turn tables to the local scene. Australian MMA is blowing up. You were part of it on your rise up to the UFC. You fought for XFC, Nitro, Brace. Now you got newer promotions like Hex Fight Series and Diamondback Fighting Championship. What is your thoughts on the scene now compared to when you were coming up?
In terms of where I live, Australia's pretty big, but in terms of Queensland and where I live, the scene at one point was like there was like 5 Southeast Queensland shows. So like in a month, like three out of the 4 weekends would have fight shows on. They were everywhere, and it was a bit watered down. It was hard to get fights because people were fighting on so many shows, but at the same time, it was easy to get on the show. Whereas now there's only a couple of promotions, and I think it's better in a way because the matchups are a lot better, and there's a range of people to fight. But it's definitely better. There's definitely a higher quality athlete out there these days. And Hex and AFC down in Victoria, they're doing a great job. And from what I hear, their production's really good as well. So yeah, it's the Australian scene's exciting at the moment. There's a lot of good dudes around. There's a lot of undefeated fighters. There's a lot of guys doing good things. Well, I think as the sport grows, I mean, guys are getting into this sport when they're kids now. So they're coming through and they're like early 20s or late teens, and they've already got 10 pro fights. It's crazy. It's definitely the sport's growing as a whole, and Australia's catching on.
All right, Damien, thank you for your time. It was good to talk to you again, and hopefully you do land. I would like to see you in Ryzen, and I think you feel the same way. The vibes I get that you would like to go to Japan and fight for that promotion and the production, that old Pride style.
I would love it, man. I would absolutely love to fight in Ryzen. So hopefully they reach out to me and my manager, and we can get matched up, man. I'll fight on September 30 if they want me to fight on that one. Ryzen 13, like, let's do it, man. I'll fight then, and I'll fight again on New Year's. So, but hey, before I go, man, I just want the fans out there to look out for my boy Aaron Blackie. He's 5-0, struggling to find fights in Australia. The dude's represented Australia all over the world in judo, and he's fighting MMA, and he's an absolute weapon, man. He's a weapon on the ground. He's a weapon on the feet. He's got throws and transitions like no other. And He's fighting in 2 weeks' time in Queensland, and he'll be 6-0 after that. People will be looking out for him. So shout out to my boy Aaron Black. He's on Instagram. I don't know his tag, but jump on my followers and search for him.
All right, Damien. Thanks for your time, and I'll definitely be talking to you soon.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.